and you're not stuck with it. You can join MetaShare anytime. By the way, to give you an idea, the typical savings for a family, about $500 a month. It just makes so much sense. Check it out. They're super easy to talk to. Call 844-45-BIBLE. That's 844-45-BIBLE. 844-45-BIBLE.
The following program is a paid presentation. The views and or opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the staff and management of KWAM. Welcome to the Variety Hour on The Voice, FM 107.9 and AM 990.
Listen to you move your mouth. I bet you come from way down south. Now don't tell me, let me guess. You from the town that I love best. Talk Memphis, I wish you would. Talk Memphis, you sound so good. Talk Memphis, high on the bluff. I swear I can't get enough. Listening to you talk that stuff. Talk Memphis, oh yeah. Talk Memphis.
This is the Memphis Real Estate Hour on KWAM. And now, here's your host, Dean Harris.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Memphis Real Estate Hour. I am your host, Dean Harris. I'm with CrestCore Realty over on Summer Avenue. Appreciate you guys joining us this morning. You might be tuning in at AM 990 Memphis, 107.9 FM, or you could be streaming the show at kwam990.com. So I appreciate you guys joining us any one of those variety of ways. The Memphis Real Estate Hour will concentrate on investing in Memphis real estate. We will also focus a little bit on our residential real estate market. We'll have local and national vendor partners of ours on the show from time to time, sharing their knowledge with you on how to become either a new investor in Memphis or how to become a better investor. And I also remind you guys every single show, it's something I've been doing ever since we started the shows. I remind you that I am an investor as well. So if you have that old home that you need to sell quickly, you know somebody that has one, maybe you've inherited it. It was your family's home from a long time ago. Doesn't matter to me with the condition either. Just give me a quick text message, 901-619-6170, and I'll get you a cash offer on that home today. Just like every show, we're on Facebook Live this morning, so I appreciate all you guys tuning in. Some of my national investors really enjoy this part of the show because they can come on at any time. They can go to the Facebook page, The Memphis Real Estate Hour, and you can check out some of the old shows that we post on there after we get finished here. So The Memphis Real Estate Hour, you guys feel free to go find us on Facebook, and you can check out some of the past shows. Last week on the show, Dan Butler with CrestCore Realty and I discussed sell or hold your real estate properties in 2018. We gave you some advantages and disadvantages of selling and some advantages and disadvantages of holding on to it. So you guys go to the Facebook page again. We posted that show on there. You can check it out. Lots of good info there. Not only that show, but the previous, we got on there 20 or so, something like that. Yeah, 20-plus shows are on there, so feel free to go check those out. I'm going to have the investment of the week today. I've got two really good properties that are really turnkey. They've been completely rehabbed and remodeled, so I'll give you those at the bottom of the hour. And then today on the show, Dan Butler with CrestCore Realty is with me. We're going to talk about the portrait of a millionaire real estate investor. We're going to give you what that picture looks like. We're going to talk about the key differences of low, average, and high-priced properties. We'll try to give you some advantage to those. And then if we've got time at the end of the show, we're going to talk about why our inventory is so low. We've got some record low numbers here over the past year or two. So let's get right into it. Dan, welcome to the show.
Good morning.
How are you this morning?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah. We're fighting the Satan dust, the pollen, and the allergies in the air. So hopefully you can get through this one.
That's
I appreciate
right.
you coming in this morning. Let's dive right into this, though. Portrait of a millionaire real estate investor. A lot of people that we come in contact with have got a vision and they've got goals that they see themselves. And if you don't say, "Hey, I want to make $1 million in investing in real estate," I don't think you're thinking in the right track and the right path. What does a millionaire real estate investor look like to you, Dan?
Well, it's funny, like after doing it so many years, how many people you see come and go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like how many people start out with just this grand plan, and I don't know, and I guess we'll kind of flush that out through what we're going to talk about, but for whatever reason, it just doesn't pan out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because it's hard work.
That's amazing, right?
Yeah, I mean one of the main reasons, the hard work. Just, I mean, that's probably one of the key things that I think that. I mean, I was listening to a bigger podcast the other day that guys, I bet he's almost 80 years old. A guy named Mike Anderson, which no relation to your buddy, but
my buddy Mike.
Might be his dad. But.
You're right.
But he'd been doing it for 40-something years, and he just kept hammering about how he just works his tail off and just stays after it, and just, every day is, pushing hard and moving forward, and he's still going strong at 80 years old. And
it's definitely a grind that a lot of people don't understand.
Right.
Until you're actually in it, it's very hard to calculate the amount of effort and work that's going to go into it.
Oh, yeah.
That's for sure.
People think they're just going to buy a house, flip it, or buy a house and make, $1,000. I mean, I'll be honest with you. My first apartment I bought in 2001, I thought I was going to have, my partner and I were going to have, $1,000 each, cash flow. And I didn't see anything from that until I paid it off, last year. So I saw it in principal pay down, but, there's just so many things that come up. And so I was one of those guys when I first started out that I thought, oh, wow, I just buy this apartment, 19 units, to start out big, make $1,000 a month. That's a good start, and that's not really reality. I kind of didn't know my numbers like I should. Mm-hmm. And
we've talked about that too, some of our bigger mistakes.
Yeah.
And that I think jumping off the deep end can be a good thing if you're ready for that grind.
Yeah.
If you're ready for that grind and you're ready for what comes after that, I think that's real good. What else do you look at when you talk about just words to describe a portrait of a millionaire real estate investor?
I think long-term perspective.
That's key.
Yeah.
I think, and I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
To me, the long-term perspective in this is what a lot of investors don't. Either they have it and they just can't see it, or they don't see it, or they don't think that far out.
Far out, yeah.
I'm relatively new compared to yourself and Douglas when it comes to investing, but I'm looking 5 and even 10 years down the road at a minimum. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to picture what it would look like in 20 when everything we have is paid off and it's cash flowing. So that to me is extremely important to have that vision, because every decision you make now on your team, on your type of properties that you're buying, your vendor partners, is going to affect you in the long haul.
I mean, I think if you don't have that, then when you come up to those obstacles that you hit, you can't. It's hard to get through them, and it's all mental. This isn't like physical strength or anything like that. It's all mental, that you're hitting roadblocks, and I didn't know it was going to. I talked to a guy last night. I think he's a horse trader and a trainer. And he got talked into buying some houses in, right by the river, and up by the off 51, kind of deep near the sewage plant.
Yeah.
And just nothing wrong with those houses, but the price he paid and But I loved his attitude. He's like, man, do I just need to settle my losses and let's get you teach me the right, keep moving and keep going. And he has a long-term perspective in that. He's like, I learned from my mistakes. I came in too fast. I trusted too much. And, but he's willing to keep going. If he's bought him for, say, $100,000, if he has to take 80, to keep moving and put, buy two, $100,000 or $50,000 houses that are renting for $800 and
make up that difference.
Make up the difference.
So that perspective there is, made a bad decision, didn't do quite what he should have from the very beginning, but because he's thinking 15, 20 years down the road, he's staying positive and staying to the plan.
I think that's a good one, staying positive,
Yeah, you got to stay positive no matter what. In my opinion, and that comes even with my job, my daily job, I got to stay positive. There are things that can happen, and with what I do and our team does on the brokerage side, that if you don't stay positive, it's very, very easy to get discouraged and turn a negative outlook on what you're doing. What about taking calculated risks?
That's I always think about this when they talk about that there's a property management podcast. They always ask about entrepreneurs born or bred, and I always think about this calculated risk piece. you know, that we all have different risk profiles. You know, like you might be willing to take more risk than I am, and I might be than the next guy, but we all have our certain threshold. And my thing is, as long as it's calculated, you know, and it's not reckless, I think that's where people, you know, and you put that emotion in it and say, I mean, the guy, I would bring up that podcast again, the 80-year-old guy, he was just talking about how wholesalers give him a deal, and it looks like, you know, houses, you know, buy this for 150, put, you know, 30 in it, that's 180, and it's worth 260. And he's like, in reality, you know, you got to put 50 in it, and it's worth 230. You know, and it's still good
Still good numbers.
Good numbers, but not near as the Grand Slam kind of home run numbers they're putting out there. And so, but if you got to get to those numbers and really understand, you know, we'll talk about partners in a little bit, but an agent that's going to tell you a real value that they really can sell it for. I mean, how many times you know, you get involved in that conversation. Look, if I had to sell it tomorrow, what is that thing really worth?
Yep.
And
which is way different than sticking it on the market and finding out what it's worth.
That's right.
You know,
that's right.
I mean, what's it going to sell for today?
Today's market
versus what can we hope for in 90 days?
I mean, you know, just like in our neighborhood, a guy gave me a spreadsheet the other day, and the values are $120 a square foot to $150, but the average is $130. So don't go in there expecting $150.
Yep.
Make your deal based on, you know, high 120s, maybe 130. You know, the average, because you're going to be fixing it up and that kind of thing.
Right.
So you're that's where you're calculating and getting analysis. But
so we have a friend of ours that's a wholesaler that, you know, takes a lot of risks. You know, just literally doesn't care. I mean, let's just fly by the seat of the pants, and it's worked for the most part.
Yeah.
But even he would come in and tell you that there's been some failures. There's been some stuff that has not worked that they've put a lot of time into. But if you speak to him today, he couldn't be more upbeat and positive about what he's doing.
Absolutely.
You know, even though he's failed and he's slung a bunch of stuff against the wall and some things haven't happened, just as much stuff has stuck and has worked for him. And I think and he's always positive. You know, I had lunch with him last week, and he you know, was talking about something that was a negative, and he was like, you know, we just got to keep moving. It'll sell. You know, we'll just keep riding. You know, go on to the next thing. I think if you have that if you're numb to the negative and you just keep moving on the positive, I think that's extremely important when we're thinking about long-term perspective.
Absolutely.
Tell me what else you look for portrait of a millionaire real estate investor.
You know, learning from your mistakes and failing forward. You know,
I like that. Failing forward.
Fail forward. I mean, it was a John Maxwell book I read probably at least 15 years ago, and it really hit home with me that you can fail. You're going to fail every day, but as long as you're moving forward and you're not falling backwards, you know, meaning you don't get sucked into the negativity and you admire yourself and pity and doubt, but you're like, man, you know, shake off your, you know, keep going, you know, rub off your knees and your dirt off your knees and keep on rolling. And I wish I'd remember that whole thing with Einstein. Didn't it take him like 1,000 or 900 something times to get the light, explosions to get the light bulb right?
What happens if he quit?
Yeah, what if he quit?
We might be doing the show by candlelight today.
That's right. But, I mean, he looked at that as like, I forgot the words he used, but basically, you know, lessons of how to make the light bulb. He was looking at, this is what I'm learning every time I do this.
Something different.
So then all that culmination into what worked.
That's right.
And now we got, you know, the light bulb. So,
guys, we're live in the studio talking with Dan Butler with CrestCore Realty. We're talking about portrait of a millionaire real estate investor. We've gone over some of these key things: a work ethic, long-term perspective, take a calculated risk, learn from your mistakes. Let's talk about our network. That's one thing that we have hit on several different topics on the show. We keep coming back to, you know, we've done shows about building your team, you know, partners, long-term relationships. But network goes a little bit further than that. People in your network can also not be a part of your actual business. When you think of network and portrait of a millionaire real estate investor, what comes to mind? What are some of the first things that we should be thinking about when it comes to our network?
You know, I did a little mentoring thing with some guys from church Sunday night. We were just talking about, you know, there's always going to be somebody happier than you, richer than you, has more houses than you, bigger business than you And so, but the more you can surround yourself with people that are ahead of you, that's going to pull you forward, and you're only as good as the best 5 people you surround yourself with. You hear that over and over. And so if you're hanging out with everybody that used to be landlords,
Yep.
and they're over there at Bryant's, complaining about how being a landlord sucked.
Bryant's.
Yeah. I just have this vision when I moved here that there's these guys that were just
Eating that biscuit over
eating
there.
that biscuit, complaining about tenants, and I was like, I hope I'm never like that.
Never over there.
It's so, and just that's a vision I always get in
Yeah.
my head. But I think that, but if you try to seek out people that are ahead of you, but also, and this gets a little deeper, you should be seeking out people behind you. I think you can't keep learning unless you're pouring in. You need to be pouring into others just as others are pouring into you. That's just the laws of the universe.
Sure.
Just giving and taking. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
It's not all what's in it for me.
Yep. My
That makes
dad
sense.
used to tell me, and I heard this, and I've said this on the show too before, but you are who you hang with.
Yeah.
And that's a very simple saying or slogan or whatever, but you are who you hang with, period.
Yeah.
And of course I got that lesson when I was a young kid and maybe not hanging out with the right folks, but it applies in business, and it applies to what you just said.
Right.
You're surrounding yourself with people that are doing the right things, that are super successful. You're trying to just soak in everything you can from them. You're naturally going to begin to behave in that manner.
Mm-hmm.
You might not reach those same goals. You might not, and like you said, you've got to be happy with what you're doing. You might not reach those same goals. You might not get to their level of success or whatever people define success as. But you are who you hang with. So if you go with people that are at Bryant's and complaining and, talking about how to be a landlord, well, that's what you're going to be.
Right.
That's who you are then. But if you can surround yourself with successful, positive thinking, network of people, I think it goes a long way to changing who you are and what your business is.
Why do you think, and I think, we spent a ton of time over the last year talking about networks. Why do you think people don't seek those people out?
Pride, ego.
Yeah. Wouldn't expand on that. What do you mean? They think they know it all?
Either they think they know it all, or they don't want to be taught. They don't want to be told anything. An entrepreneur mind is that I can do anything.
Mm-hmm.
I can accomplish this, and I can do anything. And that's a great mindset to have. I've got that mindset, but I come to you every day for stuff.
Right.
Every single day, I ask you some type of question about what should I do here, or whether it's with our brokerage, whether it's with my personal investing, whether it's with Amber and the kids.
Right.
Whatever it is, I'm always trying to feed off of you and Leah and Douglas and that, the whole thing. So pride and ego to me is the first thing I think of when somebody, or it's just flat out stubbornness. Maybe not very trustworthy. Maybe they're they come from a background where they can't trust anybody. That's kind of the first thing that comes to mind.
Well, and I think that people are afraid of rejection. I think in a network situation, but if you think about it, now some people might not have enough time, but if somebody came to you that said, "Hey man, I love what you've done at CrestCore and how you're setting up this business and your name's all over the place," whatever it is they see in you, and they said, "Hey man, could you spend some time with me, maybe get some coffee every couple of weeks, and just let me ask questions and hear your story." If you're getting all flattered just sitting here.
Well, at this point, it'd be hard to say no.
That's right.
Especially since I've been on the receiving end of that.
Yeah.
From you, from others. It's hard. It would be hard for me to say, "Nah, I just can't do that." It might not work every time we want to do it, but yeah, it'd be hard.
Well, and I'll tell you, and I think the listeners would enjoy the story because I'm anxious to see how it plays out. But I had a guy text me last week, a good friend of mine that said, "Hey, I see what you and Douglas are doing out there. Enjoy seeing all you're doing. Would you be, I'm in love with real estate. I've been in real estate, but I want to take it to the next level. Could you sit down with me every so often and meet with me?"
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Sure, let's meet next Tuesday and let's talk through that, what that would look like." And, and all that to say, it could turn into a business thing because I'm like, oh my gosh, that guy would be perfect for X.
Yep.
And if he hadn't reached out,
you never would have met him.
Never would have put that 2 and 2 together of, hey man, he'd be perfect position that we need right now, where we could then, it's life on life in that point. He's in the office, we're going to be mentoring you're going to be mentoring him, I'm going to be mentoring him, he's going to learn, he's going to start mentoring others, but then he's going to start running a business. anyway, I thought that was a cool story that just happened this week that I thought was just, it never would have happened if he hadn't texted me and asked. Does that make sense? So I'm hoping in a few weeks we have an even better story, but the door opens and
it's all about having an open mind too.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't be so closed-minded when people are trying to get in, because you got to understand, if they're coming to you, you're for information and for mentorship, or even just for that once a month coffee, you're doing something right.
Yeah.
And you got to look at it that way. I mean, they're not coming to you because you're a bum and you're not doing anything, doing all the wrong stuff. They're coming to you because they see something, whether it's they see it in you from on the inside, or you're that kind of person, or where they can literally see, wow, look at what's going on with them in that company.
Well, and I think if you change your mindset too, and I've just seen this over the years in real estate, people are very closed-minded of, man, I got my secret sauce. I don't want anybody to see what I do.
Yeah,
they hold it close. Lot of that. That's a lot of that, right? Close to the vest. But man, if you just throw it out there and just tell everybody what you do, how you do it, there's a difference between knowing and doing.
Absolutely.
And so, what I'm starting to figure out, this comes with wisdom and age.
Yep.
Now that I'm in, let's say, early 40s, mid 40s,
right.
You learn that what doors could open up. That guy, if somebody, a guy or girl is so interested in what you're doing, and you're working alongside them and give them goals and give them things to do, who knows what could happen?
Yeah,
they might be on your team.
Know. That's
they might be starting to refer you business that because they that relationship there's people that I'm probably mentoring right now, and that there's people that mentored me that I'm already past.
Yep.
There's people that I'm mentoring now that are probably going to pass me.
Yep.
At some point in the career. So
and you have them to thank for that.
Yeah.
Because that pursuit and that guidance has helped.
That's right.
Absolutely.
So it's exciting to if people take that as an exciting thing, not as a work or like I said, hold close to the vest. I think that the mindset's got to change to where we're all just helping each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally
lifting
agree.
it up.
Guys, you're listening to the Memphis Real Estate Hour. I've got Dan Butler with CrestCore Realty in here. We are talking about the portrait of a millionaire real estate investor. We're going to take a real quick break, come back, finish up this segment, and then we're going to jump into what are the key differences of low, average, and high-priced properties. So you guys stay tuned. You're listening to the Memphis Real Estate Hour on 107.9 The Voice.
You're listening to the Memphis Real Estate Hour on KWAM. We'll be right back after this.
Now, here's Mid-South weather from News Channel 3's Severe Weather Center. Brought to you by the Crescent Club, hosting the people and ideas that moved Memphis forward for nearly 30 years. Poplar and I-240. Call for a free tour at 901-684-1010.
Cloudy, windy, and warm once again for the Mid-South. Gusting southerly winds will push high temperatures to near 80. Scattered showers overnight. Temperatures fall to near 60. And north winds are back for Wednesday with pockets of heavy rainfall and localized flash flooding. Flash flood watches in effect for tomorrow. Your tax refund check is the start of getting a new ride. At CK Auto 5170 South 3rd, they'll help you finance your next car, truck, or van. I'm News Channel 3's Todd Demers. On The Voice, FM 107.9 and AM 990.
Griffin, Clift, Everton, and Mashmeyer, PLLC, is a full-service law firm with over 50 years of experience in the Memphis area. Real estate closings have continued to be the forefront of their law practice, which include residential, commercial, and development real estate transactions, drafting and negotiation of real estate contracts and leases, business information, preparation of wills, probate, and estate planning. Their firm represents a number of builders, developers, investors, and local lending institutions, and is approved to close transactions for most local banks and mortgage companies. In addition, they offer title search, title examination services, and title insurance through several well-established title insurance companies in the Memphis area, as well as Tennessee and Mississippi. They strive to offer services in a prompt and timely fashion while advising and representing clients in a zealous and professional manner. Should their offered services be of need, please contact William N. Griffin Jr. or any of their attorneys at 901-752-1133. They can also be found online at www.gcemlaw.com or on Facebook.
Is it a good time to buy or refi? Is it a buyer's market or a seller's market? Are interest rates going sky high soon? Hi, I'm Ludi Calloway, the mortgage lady at iBank Mortgage. I tell my customers to ask questions, get answers. So join me every Monday morning at 8, and I will tell you what's going on in today's still changing mortgage world. Remember, most people think about mortgages a few times in their lives. I think about them every single day. Tune in Mondays at 8.
Picture your dream house. For you, it might be a sprawling property with mature trees and a winding driveway. Or perhaps it's something more cozy and closer to the mall. Call Sierra Pacific Mortgage today. Tell us about your dream home. We want to make it a reality. Call Sierra Pacific Mortgage at 206-930-1801 or visit spmc.com for more information. NMLS ID 1788, Equal Housing Lender.
CBS Money Watch, presented by ZipRecruiter.
Ford Motor Company says it will temporarily lay off about 2,000 hourly workers from 2 Michigan plants. The layoffs start in May and end in October, giving Ford the chance to retool the plants to make Ford Ranger pickup trucks and Bronco SUVs. On Wall Street, the Dow ended up 336 points. The Nasdaq was up 72. Walmart says it's expanding its meal kit business from 250 stores to more than 2,000. The move puts Walmart in direct competition with meal kit companies like Blue Apron and HelloFresh. Each Walmart easy-to-make dinner feeds 2 people and costs between $8 to $15. That is your CBS Money Watch report. In New York, I'm John Schumann.
ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. ZipRecruiter's technology finds qualified candidates for businesses of all sizes. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/CBS News.
You're listening to the Memphis Real Estate Hour on KWAM. And now, here's your host, Dean Harris.
All right, welcome back. Today's show, I've got Dan Butler here in the studio with CrestCore Realty. We're talking about the portrait of a millionaire real estate investor. We talked about the work ethic you need to have, the long-term perspective. We talked about taking calculated risk, learning from your mistakes. The big one was your network. You are who you hang with. I love that saying. Narrow, singular focus, Dan. Talk about that a little bit.
I think this is more just trying to educate people about just don't go out there with the shotgun approach. How many people we hear wholesaling and flipping and retail and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I was talking to a guy that came to our office as a wholesaler yesterday, a good friend of ours, and he's been wholesaling 8 years and could build up a good residual business with, network marketing and getting subscriptions to people learning how to wholesale. And, I was like, man, if that thing runs on its own, let's get you buying. I mean, he wants to buy houses. Start having his own. He wants to have 50 houses, and we came up with a plan and how long and, all that good stuff. So, I think that's okay. He's got this thing running long enough. We talked about that, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. I said, man, if something's 80+% there and it's on its path to get to where you feel really good about it, there's always going to be stuff you got to fix and improve upon, but
I've learned that you've got to, before you can move on to the next thing, you've got to get good at something. And I learned this lesson when I first started in real estate, where I was only doing new construction. It's the only thing that I did. And what happened? The market crashed in 7 and 8 and 9. And
you scrambled a little bit, right?
A little bit for like 2 years. I mean, I was what. To be honest with you, I'd put my resume out and I was trying to get another job. I mean, I didn't know what was going to happen. So I learned that valuable lesson on not just diversifying, but get good at something, have something going, and then let's move on to something else. Let's keep it going and keep doing different things. And I do believe, and I know some investors or even wholesalers and even just real estate agents that are so scattered with because there's so many different ways you can make money, right? I mean, that's the one good thing about real estate is there's a million different ways that you can earn an income through real estate, but it's easy to get distracted with all those different ways and all the great ideas. Hone in on something, get something going good first, and then once you do. But I agree with what you just said. If you got something going at 80%, you should feel confident enough in the processes that you've set up that it can take you on to that 100% as you're moving on to something else.
I mean, I think what's a good example of that real estate? Like when you first started as an agent, what would you say, you know, kind of getting that focus? What would that look like?
To move on to something else?
No, like zeroing in, like, you know.
You need to learn all the ins and outs. All right, so we'll talk about just investing in real estate from an agent's perspective. Yeah. You need to know all the products that your investors are going to want to buy in. Multifamily, single-family homes. I mean, you know, you don't want to go too far off the scale with commercial, but learn your product, learn what that is, and learn what investors are looking for. I mean, it's basic sales 101, but learn what they're looking for, learn what the product is, and just match people up. But focusing on that and getting good at your spiel, at your sales pitch, so to speak, what you might have down, you got to master that. And what I mean, I don't mean like 2 months. I mean like maybe 2 or 3 years of learning what to not say and what to not do, or what to say and what to do.
And I'll give an example just with you. I mean, I think you went new construction.
Yep.
Then you did retail.
Yep.
Now you've done investor and got really focused on investor. Yep. But you really hadn't done multifamily.
Not
so those first couples came along. You're like, oh boy.
I learned a whole lot last year with that. Yeah.
You know, you're asking a lot of questions, but it was okay to do it because you already knew retail. You already knew investor houses.
Yep.
You know the areas that you want your investors in and not in, and so. And you got the machine running that for you.
Yep.
You know, we were talking about that before the show. Your team closed, I think, 8 houses while you were out Friday afternoon.
Yeah, they did.
You know, eating ice cream or whatever you were doing.
Oh yeah,
just hanging out
around.
But so your system was working for you.
Yeah.
You know, but adding multifamily is now not as big a deal. But if you start out as an agent out of the gate and you're trying to do multifamily, commercial, investment property, retail,
you're gonna be lost.
And it's hard not to say no. Because
that's key.
It's a paycheck, right? And I get that. I think you maybe start out that way, and then you then you figure out which one you really like.
Yep.
I don't know what you agree with that.
I do, but you run the risk if you're not careful. You run the risk of getting yourself and making yourself look bad
because you don't know what you're doing.
You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And there are certain areas of real estate now that if somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, can you help me with this?" I refer it out. It's not something that I can do that I can properly do. You know, I mean, you can stick something on the market, but can I market it correctly? Am I hitting the right target audience? I mean, those are things that you've got to think about. So narrow, singular focus, consistency is a big thing. We've talked about this with just about everything. Our marketing, your behavior, your mentality, your spending, your not spending, your time, your hours that you put in have all got to stay consistent.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're all over the board, if you know, and I guess we could probably just hone in on marketing just for the example for the show, but if sometimes you post on Bigger Pockets and you're posting, you know, once a month, you know, versus you're trying to help somebody every day.
Yep.
That's helping getting your name out and that you're somebody to help investors, but you just plop in the lake and come back right back out and move on to the, you know, and forget about it. That's not consistency. So people love consistency, and when you see consistency, I mean, Grant Cardone talks about that, right? The 10X.
Yeah.
I mean, that joker's just
great.
The most consistent. I mean, you like his Facebook page, man. You're up to the creek because every other feed is going to be something on Grant Cardone.
Uplifting, positive.
Get quotes. Get after it. His show, his conference, his book, his another quote. I mean, it's just boom, boom, boom. It's constant.
He's less cheesy than a whole lot of guys that do that.
I agree.
You know,
and I loved what he said, and I'm trying to remember how he said it, but basically he does it so much to where it makes people mad, and he's like, "Well, then I've done my job." Does that make sense? He's so out there because he's getting on some people's nerves. Some people just don't like that. They just feel like you're taking advantage of them, or just I don't want to see all that. It's too much.
False advertising.
Whatever it is. He's like, "Well, then I've done my job." I thought that was pretty good. Like,
you got to be known.
If he's not making people mad, if he's not having critics, then he's not pushing it out far enough. I thought that was good.
We talked about developing a team before. We can go through this one kind of quick, but your team and your core, your real estate agent, your insurance company, bankers that you choose, property managers, contractors, attorneys, accountants. I mean, everybody that you could develop and create around you. We've talked about building a team.
You need competent people, and
that's right.
And that team, whoever that is, whether it's your insurance agent, your contractor, our contractors that we used 15 years ago look totally different. Those guys I first started with came in with a bag of receipts, with no invoices, and I'm having to just
sort through
it. And now, you turn it in on Friday, you get paid next. It's just a different caliber, different system.
Yeah.
So just one thing for our audience to think about is just that changes over time.
Yep.
Your team is going to look different, but
over time.
And then I think the other one that probably that's people get stuck in is, they need to focus on their strengths and somehow outsource their weaknesses.
How do you do that? Talk about that. How do you outsource a weakness?
That's a good question. Automate it. Pay somebody to do it.
We do it in the brokerage.
Yeah. I mean,
one of the things that we, this is why I like the show, or why I think people like it, is we're pretty open and honest.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have weaknesses, and one of mine is the paperwork details. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
So what do? We outsource that. We've got a team, somebody to help me with that. We've got virtual assistants to help with some of that stuff.
Right.
We think Douglas and you have really hammered it home on, let's take your strengths and focus on that and blow those up. And if you have a weakness, which we all do, then let's outsource that. Let's get somebody to help you with what that is and let you focus on what makes you great. I mean, and I think everyone should do that. Focus on what makes you great and what you're good at, and outsource that weakness to whether you're hiring help to help you with that weakness, or you're developing your team around you, somebody that can handle it.
I'll give you another example that kind of comes to mind for me. I'm pretty good. Like if we need, say, a plumber, I'm pretty good at finding a plumber.
Yep.
Texting, emailing, calling some buddies. I'm not good at getting their resume, getting them to take our tests that we have, get their application. But now we have a system in place that's what they love to do.
You just pass that on.
Pass that on. I give them the name and the number,
and you're done.
And I'm done. I walk away. It's like I'm done my job,
That's a little bit of what we have in the brokerage. Yeah, I know.
So I think so it plays off my strength, and it also plays on the strength of the person that's the official recruiter.
Yep.
Because that's what they love to do. They love getting on the phone, getting all the information, get them to take a survey.
Well, we hear Stacy asking those questions all the time.
That's right. Over and over, and that's what she loves to do. And I don't love doing that part. So it's been a good way to outsource what I would say my weaknesses are, of just carrying that to the end, and really dissecting whether that candidate, I've gotten a candidate, I just don't know if they're really good or not.
We'll let somebody else
find that out.
That's right.
And figure that out, and then hire them if that makes sense.
That's right. Guys, you're listening to the Memphis Real Estate Hour. We're going to take one more quick break. We've been talking about the portrait of a millionaire real estate investor. We're going to come back. I'm going to give you the investments of the week, and we're going to talk about what are the key differences of low, average, and high-price rental properties. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Memphis Real Estate Hour on AM 990 Memphis.
You're listening to the Memphis Real Estate Hour on KWAM. We'll be right back after this.
Now, here's Mid-South weather from News Channel 3's Severe Weather Center. Brought to you by the Crescent Club, hosting the people and ideas that moved Memphis forward for nearly 30 years. Poplar and I-240. Call for a free tour at 901-684-1010.
Cloudy, windy, and warm once again for the Mid-South. Gusting southerly winds will push high temperatures to near 80. Scattered showers overnight. Temperatures fall to near 60. And north winds are back for Wednesday with pockets of heavy rainfall and localized flash flooding. Flash flood watches in effect for tomorrow. Your tax refund check is the start of getting a new ride. At CK Auto 5170 South 3rd, they'll help you finance your next car, truck, or van. I'm News Channel 3's Todd Demers. On The Voice, FM 107.9 and AM 990.
Griffin, Clift, Everton, and Mashmeyer, PLLC, is a full-service law firm with over 50 years of experience in the Memphis area. Real estate closings have continued to be the forefront of their law practice, which include residential, commercial, and development real estate transactions, drafting and negotiation of real estate contracts and leases, business information, preparation of wills, probate, and estate planning. Their firm represents a number of builders, developers, investors, and local lending institutions loans and is approved to close transactions for most local banks and mortgage companies. In addition, they offer title search, title examination services, and title insurance through several well-established title insurance companies in the Memphis area, as well as Tennessee and Mississippi. They strive to offer services in a prompt and timely fashion while advising and representing clients in a zealous and professional manner. Should their offered services be of need, please contact William N. Griffin Jr. or any of their attorneys at 901-752-1133. They can also be found online at www.gcemlaw.com or on Facebook.
Is it a good time to buy or refi? Is it a buyer's market or a seller's market? Are interest rates going sky high soon? Hi, I'm Ludi Calloway, the mortgage lady at iBank Mortgage. I tell my customers to ask questions, get answers. So join me every Monday morning at 8, and I will tell you what's going on in today's still changing mortgage world. Remember, most people think about mortgages a few times in their lives. I think about them every single day. Tune in Mondays at 8.
Picture your dream house. For you, it might be a sprawling property with mature trees and a winding driveway. Or perhaps it's something more cozy and closer to the mall. Call Sierra Pacific Mortgage today. Tell us about your dream home. We want to make it a reality. Call Sierra Pacific Mortgage at 206-930-1801 or visit spmc.com for more information. NMLS ID 1788, Equal Housing Lender.
You're listening to the Memphis Real Estate Hour on KWAM. And now, here's your host, Dean Harris.
Hi, welcome back to the Memphis Real Estate Hour. Got your investments of the week. Get your pins out. Free money. All you got to do is spend some money. 3000 block of Aden, A-D-E-N Street and 38127. Great property here. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, fully rehabbed, ready to go from top to bottom. This is a good-looking house out here. $65,000. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 3000 block of Aden Street. That's a great one. I've got 1858 Ozark Street, 38108. I love the Berkeley area. I own property over there, Dan. I know you and Douglas own several over there. 1858 Ozark Street, 38108. It's got 4 bedrooms and 1 bath. This one's occupied at $825. Again, the seller is wanting $65,000 for it. So, great little property. This should take you about 5 minutes to get it occupied. If it were to go vacant, market rent over there is $825. And the seller's asking $65,000. So, guys, if you have any questions about any of the investments of the week, you can go to our real estate website, CrestCoreRealty.com. That's CrestCoreRealty.com. We post all the investments of the week over there on the website, so feel free to take a look over there. You can also register to become kind of one of our preferred buyers as well over there. So,
I just got an emergency text that Aden was a 4-bedroom, not a 3.
Did you?
I thought that was funny.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Thank you, Spencer. All right, so let's change that then. I got it as a 3-2. So it's
even better deal.
It's a 4-2. Now you're even a better deal.
That's right.
My buddy Spencer's listening. He is the owner of these properties. So thank you, Spence, for that. But it's 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 3000 block of Aden, $65,000. So you guys check that out. It's even better news. So I'm glad he emergency texts us. Alert.
He didn't say emergency. I got to give him a hard time.
That's great. All right. Before the break, we were finishing up on Portrait of a Millionaire Real Estate Investor. Let's get into what are some of the key differences here in our last kind of 10 minutes of the show. What are key differences in low, average, and high-priced properties, Dan? Price ranges, obviously, is kind of one of those. Talk about price ranges that we see in Memphis.
You know, I was trying to really think through. I feel like, we see a lot of houses between 10 and 35, and, under 35 down to 10. I mean, I feel like those act very similarly in the fact of how up and down, the vacancy rates, the rent rates, those kind of things. Then you got that 35 to 50. You start bumping up. You start getting in that $750 rent.
Yep.
Then you got that 50 to 70. Maybe 75, maybe 80.
This is my hot spot right now.
This is your hot, 50 to 80. And then you got greater than 80,000. And then you got, I didn't even put it on here, but I mean, I think at some point you get into where the new construction, which is probably like, 135 and above, probably
110 to 150.
110, 150. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's probably right. So
Depending on
that's
which area of town.
that's a whole nother ball game as well. So every one of those has 4 characteristics. You got different cash flows, you got different hassle. When you're dealing with it.
Yep.
And hassle meaning the tenant, the turnover, the collection rate, the maintenance.
Yeah.
All that stuff that that's what I call hassle.
It's a flow chart of lower priced homes, higher the hassle.
Yep.
Higher the
higher
return,
cash flow, right?
And then it moves, and it's higher
price,
higher
lower the
rent,
hassle,
lowering the hassle, and lowering your return. Really depends on what you have an appetite for.
Yeah.
There's a sweet spot that I talk about, especially with all my national investors, of where's the minimum, and to me, I'm not under 55 to 60 grand with national investors. And the reason why is that they're 2,000 miles away, usually from the West Coast, and there's no way that they want to hear about a leaky toilet. They just don't.
Right.
That's what becomes a pain to them to hear about this.
Pain points.
Yeah. So they need to stay away from the $30,000 and $35,000 houses. We need to get up into the 65, 75,000, 80 and above.
Yep.
So there is a threshold for those.
Then you got appreciation. There's different. My houses that we bought for $20,000 5 years ago. What do you think they're worth now?
Your $20,000 stuff, 35, 40,
probably 20.
You think that? Oh, you're talking about okay. Yeah, those are worth 20.
Yeah, just think 20 is worth 20. And then when you get into 50, those start creeping up. Those that were probably worth 45 or 50 are now worth 60. So you got a little bit creep of appreciation.
There's some areas where your 20s might be worth 35 now.
Probably, just because of the demand.
Yeah.
That's that. But overall, I'm just kind of thinking of a 30-year time horizon. I mean, I think, and then what do you think about? I mean, like the Bartletts and the Cordovas, those have been huge appreciation, right? I mean, you used to buy a house in Bartlett for $60,000. What's the lowest you can you're seeing right now?
I dare you search the MLS and find anything under 100.
Under 100? Yeah, that's what I thought.
You can't.
Right.
You can't do it in Cordova either.
That's right.
Nothing.
So the appreciation is there as you go higher price. But there is the curve of appreciation as the higher you go for a rental. Let's keep that.
Oh yeah, we're talking about rental property.
Not retail.
Yeah.
So that you got to have a different mindset and thought process. That appreciation starts slowing down as well, because you can't. The people aren't going to pay but so much for rent. I looked at a house in Collierville yesterday that was probably a $2,500 rental, and I'm like, the only issue I see is how many people out there want to pay $2,500 to rent a house. It's got to be a special situation, like they're building their own and they need a place to stay for a year, or they're transferring in for 2 years. You know what I mean? Like there's something. They're here to St. Jude to do an experiment. I mean, there's all kinds of little things that can happen. But
how much do they want for that house?
For price?
Yeah,
300 something.
Yeah, see, no way.
Yeah,
I mean, we can get 6 houses over there for $4 grand.
Yeah,
you just can't do it.
So
it doesn't make sense. Let's talk about cash flow. Net cash flow after expenses. High cash flow for the lower priced houses.
Yeah.
Mid-level cash flow for mid-priced houses, and then obviously low cash flow for the high-priced ones. And a lot of people ask me what would I buy? What do you suggest? And really, it's what do you have an appetite for? Where's your threshold of tolerance of dealing with the high cash flow for the lower priced homes? Are you willing to understand and incorporate a maintenance call every 45 days?
Right.
Right. If you are, and you're willing to stomach that, then you're high.
This is for you.
This is for you. If you're, the mid-level ones, it's kind of just a vanilla, hey, you might get one every 60, 90 days, you're going to deal with it. But go to the low cash flow and high price, you have no tolerance for that.
Right.
You don't want to
hear
about that. You want a solid tenant in there that you might not ever hear from unless there's something major. So it really just depends on what, and we've talked about this too, what are your goals for your money? What are you trying to figure out, and how passive or active do you want to be?
So, like when I was at that house yesterday, or new construction, you got new sewer lines, you got all new equipment. So the maintenance, like you said, that really sucks your cash flow down is minimized, right? So I think that's where the beauty of that. I mean, I met a turnkey friend of mine at lunch yesterday, and he was talking about how he just couldn't see how people are selling houses above appraisal. And so we ran the numbers on, I'm trying to remember the example, but I think it was, a house that was worth 110, sold for 130, and rents for $1,100. And you put 25% down, and that thing still cash flows. On the 25% down, you cash flow like 6.5% or something like that on that specific example we were running through yesterday. So that's why people are still doing what they're doing and willing to pay the prices they're paying, in Memphis, Tennessee.
Still cash.
And it just, the guy that I talked to yesterday, the horse trader and trainer,
Is there horse traders?
Trader, yeah. He
really?
trades
horses?
Yeah. I didn't get a chance to ask what all that meant.
I thought you were saying trainer, and you just
trader and trainer, yeah. But he just I can't get anything over here where he's at on the West Coast. So even with the numbers we're talking about that Memphis has gotten to, it's still people are still willing to do it. So
talk about the hassle. I mean,
yeah, that's probably the hardest. That's the hardest. We could do a whole show on just
the hassle,
training people on hassle. I think that's people don't really get how much hassle there is. Yep. When you have a wood frame house versus a brick house, when you have, trees that are, in this house because they've never taken care of the house or the trees in the yard, and the house is 50 years old and it's rented for $650. And I met a fellow investor at that Chandler Reports thing, that panel we did last week, and his point was, $1,000 water heater on a $650 rent feels totally different than $1,000 water heater on a $1,200 rent.
Yep.
And people got to understand that piece. When you have a major incident, it's a bigger chunk of your, because at $650 rent, you're only pulling in $7,000 something a year. So that's a big deal. So
absolutely. Let's talk about appreciation.
Yeah.
Low priced, low appreciation, mid priced, mid level, and then high priced. You have the reduced level of appreciation because our city doesn't see it.
Right.
We're not a city of appreciation, which is why the West Coast people come here, because they see appreciation but zero cash flow, almost zero. They come here for that cash flow, but we don't see that appreciation. Talk about kind of what you're seeing in these low price, mid price, and high price appreciation ranges.
I mean, I think in Memphis in general, I think we've seen an interesting phenomenon because even the low priced are seeing appreciation right now. And it's because
that's why I thought your 20. Sorry, that's why I thought your 20 was
35. Yeah, it wasn't probably 6 months ago.
I think it might be,
or a year ago.
So let's get them listed today.
Get them listed. That's right. Let's get them moved. But I think everything is in general seeing. But I think over a 30-year period, I think your low price is just going to be the lowest appreciation.
Yeah,
as a percentage, and then your mid-level could have the higher. Depending on, how we define the mid, that 50 to 80, to me that's where also retail buyers could come back.
Yeah.
First.
Yep.
You got two people, a family that works at FedEx. Now the banks open up their credit a little bit. They can take a 620 score or 610 or whatever that number is.
Yep.
They're going to be the first ones to buy. There's still people that want to chase that dream. And
lastly, let's hit liquidity.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's just, how easy it is going to be when you need to get out or want to get out. How quickly can you? And I think, Doug's and I are good examples on the low-end, low-cost product has the hardest liquidity.
Yep.
And the mid, I think, has the highest. And then the highest price has decent liquidity, but it's smaller. There's just the demographics. Who wants to buy a $130,000 house shrinks, right?
Your pool is much smaller.
Your pool is much smaller. So you can move it, but the people...
Your pool's smaller, it's harder to do.
And I always equate it, totally different example, but like on retail, you have a pool.
Yep.
You might have 1,000 buyers for your house. You put a pool in there, and it might go down to 200.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Because people just want another person's pool. They don't want their own.
Hey, listen, thanks for joining us on the Memphis Real Estate Hour. We're running right out of time. We'll be back next Tuesday at 8 a.m. And thanks for joining us today.
Thanks.